Hi, this is Mitch Mitchell of TT Mitchell Consulting Incorporated. I've got an interesting question for you. Are you able to make the tough decision when it's time to make one? That may sound like just kind of a throwaway question, but the truth of the matter is everybody at one point in their lives, at least one point in their lives, have to make a very tough decision. For instance, maybe you've gotten 3 offers for college. You now have to make the decision as to which college you want to go to. Or maybe you have the opportunity to join like a couple of different teams, or maybe there's a conflict between doing one thing or the other. And those may not necessarily seem like tough decisions, but they are because you have to make it. I mean, you only really get a choice. Maybe you have to make a choice as to do you ask out this certain person? Or maybe the tough decision is this a person I'm ready to marry for the rest of my life, to stay with the rest of my life? Many years ago, before I wrote my book on leadership, my first book on leadership, I had a seminar. I was at a seminar in Syracuse area, and then we had a speaker. The guy's name was Dr. John Palizza, and he was a consultant in healthcare, and he was telling a story about how there was this really big decision that had to be made, and he'd gotten all this information, and he just kept hem-hawing. And he hem-hawed back and forth for about 2 weeks. He just didn't know what to do. And one morning he walked into the office, and one of the ladies who worked for him said, "Have you made a decision on this yet?" And he says, "No, geez, I'm just not sure which way to go." She says, "Just make a decision already." And he had to think about that, and he said, really, this is the best thing to do, because truth of the matter is it should not have been that tough a decision. He knew which way he wanted to go, but he was scared that it might not be the right thing. Here's the thing, he had all the information he needed. If he had implemented something and it didn't work, he already had the other information for the other side that he could either go in a totally different direction or just modify what he did. Because quite often, not everything that you launch the first time works out perfect. Sometimes it does and you get lucky, but every once in a while you have to make a tweak. So, you have those tough decisions. I think the toughest decisions are really life and death situations, I would hate to have to be the parent of a child where it's the life and death decision of, do we turn off the respirator or not? If they can't breathe on their own, should they be able to survive? Parents have to make some serious decisions. My dad's twin brother many years ago, for him, had to make a tough decision. He wasn't all that healthy, but his leg either had to be amputated or he wasn't going to live all that long. And it had happened to a cousin of mine earlier, and he had to make a tough decision. Now, luckily, he had someone to bounce it off of, which was my dad. And my dad said, well, okay, think about this. If you go, then you lose all this time you could probably have with your family. It's just the leg. You always have ways to get around. And so my uncle made the decision to go ahead and have his leg amputated, and he lived another 15 years. So, those are tough decisions, and you have to be able to make those tough decisions, whether you're in business or whether it's your life. One of the biggest decisions people often have to make is, should I leave my job and go get another job, or should I leave my job and go do something else? When the economy is tough, sometimes people start to take advantage of you. And you have to decide, am I willing to stick with something like this, or is it time to move on and take another shot? Yeah, I know it's tough, but sometimes, they're tough decisions. If you really need the money, you're going to stick it out. But if you have that opportunity to maybe go do something else, you might have to. Even as an independent consultant, I have had to make certain statements and decisions over the course of my years. Am I going to take certain assignments? I mean, I've left gigs that I've signed up for. I said, you know what, now this just isn't working. It's time to end it. I remember the very first time I got a real traveling gig, and the first day I'm at this place, and this guy comes over and he hands me all these pieces of paper. And I said, what are these? He said, well, these are charges that have to be entered for this particular hospital. I said, I'm not doing that. He says, you're not? I said, no, I'm not doing it. He says, but the person who was there before you did it. I said, they're not paying me all this money to come down here and enter charges for this one hospital. That's not going to happen. I don't report to the person who runs that. I report to upper administration. They brought me down here to fix problems, and my problem is not entering those charges. Now, that was a well-paying gig, first day. Could have sent me home, but I took a stand on that day, and it turned out in my favor. It turned out to be absolutely right. Sometimes you have to be willing to make those tough decisions. It could cost you money. It could cost you a whole lot of other things. But sometimes you have to be willing to do it. But your best bets when it comes down to that are a couple of things. One, you really need to be introspective. You have to just, figure what is the best thing for me right now. And the other thing, if it's possible to do, is to research. Get as much research as possible, and then note, the best things and the worst things, and do a comparison and say, geez, you know what? There's only 3 good things, but every single one of them is stronger than all these bad things. Or, you know what? That's really a bad decision. I don't really know where that's going to go, but I know where this is going to go, so I'm not going to go that route. Are you strong enough to make the tough decisions? Unfortunately, a lot of people aren't. There's a lot of sad people that I see all the time because they're scared to make the decision that they need to make their lives better. And really, it should be about you trying to make your life better. You trying to make your life something that you can be proud of, something that makes you fulfilled, something that makes you happy. That's all I'm saying. And sometimes those take some very tough decisions. Anyway, let me know what you think about this. This is Mitch Mitchell of T.T. Mitchell Consulting Incorporated. 5 days in a row. I'm not sure if I'll be here tomorrow night. It's Friday, but we shall see. Hope you take care. Have a great night. Let's go Friday.